Madhog here. I'm here to talk to you about this pay-per-view, which was really bad. Nothing? No reaction whatsoever? Nothing at all.
What the heck?
I guess that's one way to put it.
What the heck, WWE? What was even that?
Okay, if you look to your left, a rare sighting of an angry Devar. It doesn't happen often. We are in luck, folks. Today is a blue moon. It's also falling on Rusev Day. So, all the planets aligned to give you this magnificent sighting of an angry Devar.
Oh gosh, what have you done to yourselves? It's like you shot yourselves in the feet and then decided we haven't done enough to ourselves. Why don't we just gut ourselves while we're at it?
I mean, with all the money they have made from Saudi Arabia, they can pretty much do all the shooting they want. They have the money to pay the bill. They don't care, but now they care less than ever. Which is something to behold in its own way, I have to say. If you distance yourself from the ground zero, yes, let's put it like that, and you witness the disaster from a distance, it's akin to a car crash. No, wait, that doesn't quite cut it. It's a monster truck crash, like the one in Idiocracy. I might reference Idiocracy a lot tonight, for obvious reasons if you know Idiocracy. From a distance, it is quite the spectacle. Of course, if you happen to be emotionally involved in the proceedings, it's not fun.
It's no fun.
It's no fun.
It's no good.
It's no good. I'm gonna get out of here.
It's no use.
It's no use.
Since the collapse of the federal government and the global economic crisis, the corporation has been building a brighter future for its citizens. Based on principles of order, loyalty, and civic obedience, the corporation has created a nation that all citizens can feel proud of. For the whole family. And remember, Friday is Double Ration Day at Rocket Burger, where your corporation food vouchers are worth double points. So blast off to Rocket Burger.
Meanwhile, the police have imposed a citywide lockdown on areas of capital city as crime control. Please obey the curfew.
Radical symptoms. Please call our
emergency, the war is on, diplomacy won't cure it. Fire on the concrete and blood stains on the surface. Cried for our freedom so the world heard it. Observe it, anarchy emerges. Lambs overcame the lions. Our souls versus science, their control versus our violence. Bring your riot gear and bring your sirens. We won't be stopped and we won't be silenced. Globalization and corporate tyrants. Fear our strength, fear our will. Break it, blood will spill, bucket full. We take it all and nothing more. Common cause and common cure for what you did to this world and how you let it die. We hold our fists up high, screaming out, liberty. State of emergency, it's on now. Fall in, fall out. State of emergency, it's on now. Fall in, fall out.
Welcome everyone to the Madhog and Devar Wrestling Podcast. A very special edition of the podcast. And when I say special, I mean that this was not really planned that much.
Not really, no.
I have basically approached Devar and said to him, hey, I'm going to watch WWE Backlash because I'm a glutton for punishment. Maybe if it's good or bad enough, we can do a podcast about it. Well, Here we are. Take your pick, folks.
We need to talk about this, man.
Yes, we need to address the Roman in the room.
More like all the elephants.
Yes, like I said, the Romans in the room. All of the Romans. Right now, the name Roman seems like a perfect synonym to failure.
Yeah.
I have to say. Oh, geez, Louise and Maurice. But before that...
Yeah, we should probably cover some ground bases, shouldn't we? Before we get stuck in, essentially.
Yes, but even before that, right after watching Backlash, I suddenly had this need to cleanse my palate. Because I had this awful taste in my mouth, as if I was eating barf, in a way. Or trying to avoid letting the barf out, as it were, before I reach for the sink. Which has happened to me before, for unrelated reasons, and it was not pleasant, so I would know the sensation. Anyway, I needed to cleanse said palate, so I watched NJPW Wrestling Dontaku Night 2, which featured Will Ospreay defending the Cruiserweight title against Kushida, and the IWGP Heavyweight Championship defense between Okada and Tanahashi. Particularly, let me tell you about this last match.
Yeah.
So those two have had a on and off feud throughout many years. Every time they meet up, it feels like it's a big deal. Particularly, the storyline going forward for this match was that Okada has been champion for almost 2 years now, which is still mind-blowing, and he has tied the total record of consecutive title defenses so far, which was 11. Incidentally, said record was originally set by Tanahashi, before he was defeated by Okada himself in 2011, I believe. So there is a lot of story going into this match, because now Okada is trying to beat that record by beating the man who previously held that record, which is the man he himself once beat for the title. Well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that compelling booking and storytelling? Isn't that something you would want to watch and experience a potentially brilliant denouement?
Yeah, I definitely would go for that.
So anyway, WWE Backlash. That's the punchline. That is the punchline. WWE, the punchline to a wrestling joke. That is probably the most consistent aspect of this company so far. Because they are pretty inconsistent about anything else.
Extremely inconsistent. Yes. Ugh. Right then. So, going into Backlash, we had a 1 week period. I literally mean 1 week, because the week before that, there was the greatest Royal Rumble, which counted as a pay-per-view.
I liked the Royal Rumble match. It was completely pointless. In fact, they even scrapped the championship belt that was given to the winner, Braun Strowman. Clearly the best possible candidate to win that all 50-man juggernaut of a Rumble.
Yeah.
Which, again, was fine and was fun, if not completely pointless. In fact, the greatest Royal Rumble could pretty much be renamed as the greatest house show. Because that's what it was. Except it gave WWE far more money than WrestleMania could ever give them, because they did it for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. which is now basically the greatest place on earth, you guys.
Yeah, it's always the greatest place to be at.
Apparently, should we actually bother to say anything about this show?
Well, not really.
Should we descend into the nitty-gritty of the political backstory? Or should we just not do that? I'm asking for a friend.
Is this friend you?
No, it's my sanity.
Everyone and their grandmother had their say on everything about that.
Indeed. There isn't really anything we can add to the discourse without sounding entitled in some way or the other. I know next to nothing about Arabian culture, except that they have had a few interesting and important social reforms in the past few years.
Yeah.
In an attempt to ingratiate the rest of the world to their newly found modern and progressive charm, which was lying under the Persian carpet, no doubt. Anyway, I will not say anything about the country Donald Trump is selling missiles to. Instead, I will say a few things about WWE as a company right now.
Yeah.
You know, for a enterprise that really wants to stay out of politics as much as possible, they really like to flash their political panties to the whole world whenever they have the chance. Hey, let's completely can the retirement angle for The Undertaker and come up with a convoluted story to bring him back, because the Prince of Arabia really wants him to appear at the Greatest House Show. Incidentally, he also wanted Yokozuna in The Ultimate Warrior, so I guess him and Vince McMahon, best friends.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, let's pay all of our women talent hush money so that they won't throw a storm on social media for not being part of this Greatest House Show. Yes. Isn't this a lovely company? Isn't wrestling fun?
WWE is not really your typical wrestling company. It is a business first and forefront.
It is the Disney of the wrestling companies, I guess. Well, I mean that in the worst possible way, by the way.
I could tell. Jeez. Like I said, they seem to be more about business and what rakes in the cash, essentially.
Nothing against that. It's capitalism, and they are a business. Business does business, as it were. But wow, this is an unprecedented level of cynicism, even for this company. Just let's throw everything under the bus, the entirety of WrestleMania, the fans who have been loyal to us up until this point, a sizable portion of our talent because we get a few $1 million from Saudi Arabia. And sure, I'm sure the fans at that stadium in beautiful Jeddah, the greatest city in the world, were really happy about the show.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
the only reason I brought up the Greatest Royal Rumble much earlier was because after this pay-per-view, this glorified house show of a pay-per-view,
this 4 hours long house show, dear lord.
Yeah, it only left everybody 1 week to set up for Backlash, essentially.
Well, they've been booking for Backlash simultaneously as the Royal Rumble was happening. And by that I mean they only announced one godforsaken match for it, and then everything else in the last week.
Yeah, pretty much that.
Well, also the women's matches, because hey, they still work for us. Yay, we're such a good company.
Yay. But yeah, like I said, it only left 1 week for to set up most of the other matches and for the fans to get invested, which most fans were shocked that Backlash was coming, and even some forgot. I guess this is what happens, when you ruin the balancing act of your pay-per-view time schedule.
And to think that they are redoing this whole co-branded pay-per-view gimmick exactly to avoid this kind of situation. I was already displeased with the idea of every month having a co-branded pay-per-view. I was there when they did it the first time in 2007.
Yeah.
I was not happy then, I am not happy now, but if the only alternative to that was having 2 pay-per-views per month, then I could live with it. If the shows are good.
Yeah.
Keyword, if the shows are good.
Yeah.
Again, if the shows are good.
Yes, the foreshadowing is very harsh with this one.
It isn't so much foreshadowing as me humping the microphone in cold fury. And make no mistake, I have fury, but it is yet to properly manifest itself. But we'll get there.
My thoughts are all muddled, but hopefully they will be like a jigsaw puzzle for me, and I'll just place my thoughts into the right places when we get to those points.
That's a really cute analogy there.
Yeah.
I would have gone with just being the jigsaw puppet and torturing people, but...
Oh, that's such a cute analogy you went for.
The jigsaw puppet being the WWE creative and the tortured victims, the fans.
Yes, the fans.
Right, alright. Before we get properly into the backlash of Backlash...
Yes.
I have so many puns about that.
I actually thought of that pun before I came here, but...
I mean, there was never a more appropriate name for a show than Backlash, considering. Stalling aside, before we start this review properly...
Yeah?
We have forgotten to do the best guy, worst guy, best match, worst match segment for our WrestleMania 34 review.
Oh, gosh.
So let's do it right now. A lightning round, if you will. Best match, the one with Ronda Rousey. Worst match, the main event. Best guy, I am tempted to say Nicholas. But I'm actually going to go with Braun Strowman, which is a predictable choice, but he gave me joy.
Yeah.
Worst guy, Brock Lesnar. I hate him, he sucks, and he's still around, earning even more money than before. And all thanks to the greatest Royal Rumble. Thank you, Arabia.
Oh, gosh.
So, do you have best guy, worst guy, etc., etc., etc.?
Well, I'm going to say best match was probably the Ronda Rousey one. Just, worst match would be definitely the Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, that's for sure. And Brock Lesnar does take for worst, just because, well... Because Brock...
Because Brock, I accept this explanation. And yes.
As for the best person of the night,
just say a name. The first one that comes to mind.
Seth Rollins.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so I'll just say that.
Okay, this was almost unanimous, by the way.
Almost.
Almost. Okay, and now to the backlash of the backlash of Backlash. On top of Backlash.
But before we get to the actual show, there was a pre-show!
I did not watch it.
Nothing was gained, nothing was lost. Let's move on.
Alright, first match of the night is also, unsurprisingly, the best match of the night. And the highlight of the night. And everything that's good in the world compacted into one single bout between two workhorse wrestlers.
It was a great match, actually.
It was brilliant. Seth Rollins versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. Not even the predictability of the result, because The Miz was on SmackDown, not even that could harm the absolute blockbuster.
Yeah.
It was hard to predict who would win, despite the fact that it really was obvious that Seth Rollins was going to retain, but they made us believe. They made us believe that The Miz could win. It was a back and forth of fantastic maneuvers and good quality, brilliant wrestling. Seth Rollins actually remembered to sell his injuries for once. His leg, to be specific, he constantly forgets to do that. But he did in this case, and those two have a great chemistry that they have developed over the months. And they both looked like gladiators going at it.
I have to admit that, this was probably the the match of the night.
Yes, and I would have to say that Seth Rollins kicking out of not one but two soul-crushing finales, Miz's finisher move, was a bit much. But I will not complain about that, honestly. It was great.
I mean, others have on Twitter technically have complained.
Your brother has complained.
Well, yeah, because to be honest, I kind of felt a bit irksome about it, just because Roman Reigns can't kick out of one, but apparently Seth can kick out of two of those. Okay.
So I guess he can kick out of 10 F5s by that logic. I'm going to say this about Seth Rollins. He seems to be really over at the moment. He is perhaps at the most popular he's ever been, which is great. Even the "Burn it down" chant, so to speak, from his entrance music became popular. So people were actually chanting "Burn it down" when Seth Rollins was signaling his finisher in that match. Which is great.
But mind you, now that we said "burn it down," makes me think that this was the best match and Seth Rollins was in it, and "burn it down" could easily be used to burn down the entire show afterwards.
Well, yes, indeed. Okay, fun fact about Seth Rollins, because I am a poor unfortunate soul that subjects himself to Monday Night Raw every week. God help me. He cut a promo, I believe, last week, in the last Raw before this show, which took place in Montreal. He cut a promo that was eerily and suspiciously similar to the very same promo they've given Roman in the build-up to his WrestleMania match. Basically saying, I'm going to be the workhorse champion, the champion of the work rate, essentially. I'm not going to be like Brock Lesnar, who's never here. The darnest thing, people were behind him when he said it. It makes you think, right? Wow, if Seth Rollins would have been in the same position Roman was in the build-up to WrestleMania, and he was the one that Brock Lesnar hammered and pummeled around, people would have been completely behind him as an underdog babyface. What do you know?
I know, what are the chances, right?
It's almost as if the problem is with Roman Reigns himself. So anyway, The Miz versus Seth Rollins. Great match. Mwah! The chef kiss. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And also, on an added note, in the interview in the post-match, The Miz pretty much came into the studio and immediately said that this was talking smack.
Right.
And he put himself over instantly, despite the recent defeat. And I am watching this and I am just thinking to myself, just give The Miz a WWE Championship run. He will bring prestige to that belt, much like he did for the IC title. Before The Miz was Intercontinental Champion and at the epicenter of the IC title scene for the past 2 years, basically, that belt had no significance. But he single-handedly gave it purpose and gave it prestige by putting it over every time he cuts a promo, by having great feuds, and now he has passed the torch, burn it down, get it, to Seth Rollins, continuing the tradition of giving prestige back to title belts, which should not be a tradition, it should be
mandatory.
Mandatory, yes. But anyway, Seth Rollins is great. I'm actually quite liking Seth Rollins right now. I have never much cared for him, but Burn It Down has caught on, and Rollins is hot to the touch, and he should be, both him and Miz, in fact, they should be a main event act, not the mid-carders.
Yeah, agreed. They've definitely got that main event feel to them now.
Yes. The company, WWE, has so many stars that are really over with the fans, that are held back because they are not the ones that they want in the main event scene.
Yeah, because of their short-sightedness.
It's plain, dumbfounding stubbornness that defies all logic and common sense at this point. It's the writing equivalent of a late-stage capitalism. Okay, so this was the opener, and it definitely was a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, it definitely was.
And now for the crowd killer.
Well, it's not the crowd killer just yet, but
it's the beginning of the end.
Yes, it's the beginning of the end.
It's the second match of the night.
After the oasis of a match that Seth Rollins and The Miz was.
Yes.
The next match we have is Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss for the women's title.
Ooh.
Oh, boy. Okay.
You're going to hear me sighing and hooing quite a lot tonight.
Oddly lackluster match for what it was, to be honest.
It was booked in the worst possible way imaginable. So here we have a dominant female champion, whom is also a babyface and supposedly a idol for those who are body shamed. So a anti-bullying icon, essentially. During this entire match, she was booked to be dominated by a woman that's 1/3 of her size.
Yeah, for 90% of the match, I would say.
This is ridiculous. This is
not...
absolutely ridiculous. When she was a heel, she dominated everybody. She gets pummeled by a midget of a woman. No offense to Alexa Bliss, but it's ridiculous. The suspension of disbelief can only stretch so far before it plummets down the precipice.
I wouldn't expect such a call to be made for, say, a Braun Strowman match, so I don't understand why it should be called for a Nia Jax match, unless she meets another woman who is stronger, or, well, equally strong as her.
This has to do with the storyline she was given. Because she is the anti-bullying icon, she has to overcome a bully. If she just pummels the bully for 5 minutes before winning, then there isn't much of a point of the storyline behind her. But there had to be a better way to do this, because other than being plodded quite frankly hard to digest as a whole, this match really exposed how limited she is in the ring.
Which is not something you want to extenuate.
No. And to make things worse, once she won the match, because obviously she did, imagine if she lost.
Oh, God,
like that
would have been
a burial. After that, she grabbed the microphone and cut the most generic public service announcement promo about bullying.
Yeah.
And the live crowd did not buy any of that. And already, after the success she's had so far, after her victory at WrestleMania that people were genuinely behind, after merely a month, she's already losing that luster. She's already getting booed. People are already turning on her. This is worrying on so many levels.
Because the way they decided to go about it, it makes the story feel a bit hollow. They think they can just get away with this because the fact, they're a wrestling show and they can do whatever form they like to take the story in. But to be honest, it's like, what would happen if during the movie, after Bruce Willis wins the day in one of the Die Hard movies, he just goes like, hey guys, remember that terrorism is bad.
So you mean the ending of Pom Poko?
Just take any Die Hard movie and terrorism's bad.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I don't have much of a problem with the booking when it relates to the build-up to a match. Because I have to say, most of the build to several of the matches to this card was pretty good.
Just was serviceable.
For example, Alexa Bliss had those hilarious public service announcements in which she tries to garner sympathy and say, Naya is the bully. We once went to Disneyland and she turned the happiest place on earth into the saddest day ever. It's really funny. So I don't have a problem with the build to a match.
No, I didn't have a problem with the build either, myself.
The problem is with the denouement, which is supposed to be the match itself, and how disappointing and absolutely ill-conceived it can get. Now, this match between Jax and Bliss, aside from exposing her Naya's, that is, limitations in the ring, and aside from how she was booked, which was just wrong on a fundamental level, and even aside that cookie-cutter babyface promo at the end of it, which nobody would have bought.
Yeah, because of, it's a hollow storytelling.
It's not even that it is hollow, it's the delivery that is no good. But you know what? Aside from all of these elements, which, now that I think about it, it's quite a lot. Aside from all that, this was not all that bad. It is salvageable in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly unsalvageable, is it?
But this is already foretelling us how the rest of the night is going to pan out.
Okay. Speaking of the rest of the night, the next matchup was Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton for the United States Championship. Moving on.
Both guys were over in their own right, but the people in the live crowd did not care at all for this match, and they chanted Rusev Day. Prepare to have Rusev Day chants throughout the entire night.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Randy Orton lost in a clean and convincing fashion, which never happens.
It's a rare occurrence, isn't it? It's a serviceable and okay match, but it doesn't really leave anything. Then again, I didn't go in with anything, and I didn't leave with anything either, because the United States Championship for the longest while has not really had that presence for me.
Huh. So on one hand, we have the Workhorse Championship, the Intercontinental title, and on the other hand, we have the Garage Sale title, I guess.
I'm nothing against the match, it's just that, I wasn't really up for this match at all.
Yes, I did not care much about it.
I mean, the wrestling was good at least.
As good as a Randy Orton match can get, really.
Yeah. Moving on, nothing was gained, nothing was lost.
That was actually a pretty funny segment, I have to say. It's the Elias segment, and you know, as well as I do, that whenever Elias is involved, it's automatically gold, because Elias is so good.
A lot of people are really into Elias.
Elias is a fantastic character. He has the crowd in the palm of his hands. He can have them literally react to him when he threatens to leave his stool. And then he changes his mind. And he did that several times, and it was the funniest thing, and it really made me happy. It made me happy for a splitting moment in time.
That there's Nirvana.
So Elias might not be quite there yet when it comes to wrestling, in-ring wrestling ability. Even though he had this really, really good match with Roman Reigns for the IC title last year.
Yeah.
It's the best match in his career. That was back when Roman was actually able to elevate people that were in the ring with him. Now, not so much anymore, for reasons that we'll get into. But nevertheless, that really helped Elias immensely in the long run. And now is just such a great commodity. He doesn't even need to wrestle. He doesn't need to do anything. He can just get into that ring in his stool being announced by JoJo. Ladies and gentlemen, Elias. Yay! Oh, it's time to walk with Elias. Yay! I need you to hold your applauses. Clap, 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 clap. Oh, is that how you feel? That I'm going to leave? Yay! No, I'm not going to leave. Boo! I'm going to leave. Yay! No, boo! And it goes on and on and on, and it's great. And then the New Day comes in, and he changes the tempo.
wanting to be his opening act, apparently.
And then Rusev Day comes in, and he changes the tempo. Again.
Aiden English is always awesome.
I don't think people appreciate enough how good of a hype man Aiden English is. He's pretty much the reason why Rusev Day is even a thing to begin with.
I mean, I love Aiden. He really makes it work.
They are teasing a split on SmackDown. I
Yes.
thought I'd let you know that.
I know. I already know this. I know this because I heard the no's. They're going, no, no, no.
So anyway, and after that, No Way Jose comes in and he changes the tempo with all the Adam Rose cronies.
Yes.
They have given the Adam Rose entourage to No Way Jose. Why? Do you want to bury him that badly? Anyway, song and dancing, everybody interrupting Elias. Elias is miffed about it. And then finally, glorious! Bobby Roode kicks him in the gonads and DDTs him. And then he inexplicably, beyond any realm of logic,
Don't remind me.
he does that particular dance in front of Rusev. You know of which one I'm talking about.
I think everyone knows what you're talking about. It begins with a T.
I cannot believe how much they ruined Bobby Roode ever since he debuted in the main roster. On NXT, he was a phenomenal heel.
Yeah.
As soon as he came to SmackDown, he was the most generic, uninteresting, boring babyface imaginable. He says glorious a lot. That's his gimmick. That's all he has going for him. People don't even care enough to chant and sing along his still pretty cool entrance music. Everything about this man has burnt out.
Which is a shame because he's salvageable at least.
He needs to turn heel. Fast.
Yeah, everyone said that.
He was so good. They have an actual precedence of his heel work. In the company. Nothing matters. Anyway, this is the segment. It was fun, and in its own self-contained bubble, it was
Amusing.
Yes.
I would say amusing, personally.
Yes. No way, Jose. No way,
Wait,
Jose.
Jose.
No way, Jose. Brrrr. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
also Titus World Slide. was in the conga line, and Breezango as well. Why not? Let's have all the jobbers just join together in song and dance. Let them have their fun. It's not like they have great prospects in this company to begin with.
Oh, good lord. The next matchup is Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass. Oh. I mean, yeah, Daniel Bryan won the match. I mean, that was the right thing to do.
Was it though?
I mean, considering what Big Cass has done in the coming weeks, I don't think anyone would have liked it if he won.
Yes, but I don't think anyone would have liked it if this feud was to continue, which it is.
No.
So
let's dial it back a bit because as soon as The Miz was coming to SmackDown, everyone was anticipating the 1 year in the making of The Miz versus Daniel Bryan,
which should be a WrestleMania main event, in my opinion. At least a SummerSlam main event.
Yeah, it should be a main event. That should be a big deal considering, where it's coming from.
So many years in the making. One of the only feud WWE has that actually can vaunt a long-term possible payoff completely by accident. That's sad.
Yeah. Oh. So everyone was all big and hyped for The Miz versus Daniel Bryan, and suddenly, instead, we got Big Cass coming back from injury as well to have a match.
Now, in fairness, I enjoyed immensely the build to this confrontation because... Because, for all the flack that I inevitably am going to give to Big Cass, is really good as a heel. That whole act with that Canadian midget dressed as Daniel Bryan.
That was awesome in one way, but also
terrible, but in a heat magnet sort of way, so I am all for it. Nobody in the main roster can get as unlikable as Big Cass, but that's probably only because he's going against Daniel Bryan. Yeah. So really, in that case, the more nasty you are to him, the more heat you're going to get.
Yes,
I don't think anybody would really care about him if he wasn't going against Daniel Bryan.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about this match other than no one really wants to see this feud continue, even though they really want it to, apparently.
First of all, I'm going to say that I am surprised about how this match was booked. Because going in, you would expect Daniel Bryan to play the role of the underdog as he's always done to perfection, and make Cass look like a dominant giant that he would have to defeat in some elaborate way. He would have to try and beat and climb a literal 7 feet tall mountain man in order to accomplish said victory. Instead, Daniel Bryan takes Big Cass to school for the majority of it.
That makes sense. I'm starting to see parallels between Nia Jax and Big Cass right now.
But yes, so Big Cass has his moment in which he is dominant in the center of the match, which is also incidentally where the match crawls to a halt because, as it turns out, since we are talking about parallels, is even more limited than Nia Jax, if that's even possible.
Oh gosh.
He almost did not do anything. He can do 2 moves. The boot to the face, a clothesline, and also raising his big arm in preemptive victory because he thinks, hey, look at me, I'm detestable, boo me. And you cannot quite tell if the crowd is booing him or booing the match.
Yeah.
So anyway, Daniel Bryan wins.
Yeah.
In surprisingly easy fashion too, come to think of it.
Yeah, by getting in the yes lock and on him.
So he basically overpowers him, slowly takes him down like an MMA fight, and locks him into the yes lock in a very, very slow, methodic way. And then he taps. And then he is sore for losing and attacks Daniel from behind. ensuring that this feud will in fact continue on for 7 more months or whatever length they're going to give it. So the most surprising thing about this match is that it wasn't really good. Not even Daniel Bryan, a guy who can drag a piece of wood to a 4-star match at the very least. The guy who had a good match with Roman Reigns by doing everything himself, not even he could make Big Cass look good.
I'm a bit sorry for everybody involved with this because the fact that Daniel Bryan, he basically wants to help talent get over lately, as he puts it. So this was like his start of that project of helping smaller talent, get the rub essentially.
Making them tap in the middle of the ring in a match that's less than 10 minutes long doesn't strike me as a way to put people over, if I'm being honest.
I know, but I'm just saying that's what Daniel Bryan wants. But the fans want him to be in the main event.
And WWE Creative
wants him to get over and done with in about 7 minutes.
No, they want to keep him in the mid-card. I'm going to put out there a very unpopular opinion.
Go ahead, but that's what we're all here for.
Okay, so you know, as well as I know, that Daniel Bryan said that if the company was not going to clear him to compete, he was just going to wait the end of his contract and go wrestle somewhere else.
Yeah.
Part of me really wishes that was the case. Because I know he's happy that he's wrestling again. I'm glad he's cleared to compete and all that. But if I may be egotistical about it, he could be wrestling Okada. He could be wrestling Kenny Omega. He could be wrestling Cody. He could be wrestling Naito. He could go to Ring of Honor or New Japan and meet all those people and have the best matches in his damn career. Instead, he's stuck in a program with Big Cass.
Yeah, I do see where you're coming from.
Okay then, so moving on, let's get to the next segment or whatever it is we have next.
Carmella versus Charlotte Flair.
I have fury!
For the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Okay,
so there's a lot of things wrong with this.
First of all, here's something that's right about it. Carmella is a great heel.
Yes.
A great heel character. The build to this match has been really good, specifically because she was really good on the microphone and at garnering heat. She came across as this spoiled brat that really could not lace the boots of an actual legitimate champion, a dignified heroine like Charlotte Flair. Also, to my amusement, Charlotte Flair defeated Asuka and her streak at WrestleMania, which I still think it was the wrong move, but let's run with it.
Yes.
So if Asuka was an empress, and Charlotte was the queen that's slaying the empress, and then came Carmella, whom is the princess of Staten Island, and she cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase on Charlotte to win the title and thus defeating the queen and becoming the crown princess. I have to ponder, is the women's division on SmackDown Live become Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I was gonna say that actually. That's like Game of Thrones.
That's the joke I've come up with a month ago by now.
Yes. I think you said it on Twitter as well, actually.
Yes, I did. So I have no problem with this angle on principle. After all, Charlotte was beat up by the Iconics. I remember when they were just known as the Iconic Duo of NXT. But regardless, the Iconics are great heels as well, honestly.
Yeah, they're quite good at what they do.
They are really good at being annoying mean girls, and it works really well for them. And when teamed up with Carmella, it's like that odious clique of high school girls that you love to hate, except it's actually good. this time around, because the company has tried many, many times to go for this mean girls angle for a woman's stable in the past, but they were never really successful with it, mostly because the performances would leave a lot to be desired. They would not be hateable for wrestling heel terms, they would be hateable for being just something that makes you change the channel.
Yeah.
So it's hard to strike that balance, but I believe Carmella and the Iconics are working out in that regard. That said, there is a problem with Carmella as the heel champion.
Yeah.
She has to wrestle.
Yes.
So this is a really interesting moment in the overall women's division in WWE, because both the two reigning champions are not very good wrestlers in a locker room that's full of great wrestlers.
Yeah.
How peculiar.
Extremely.
Okay, so
Probably a coincidence.
speaking of suspension of disbelief and the impossibility to maintain it, I will not and cannot buy in any conceivable universe that someone like Carmella, who cannot wrestle to save her life, is a match for Charlotte Flair, arguably the best woman wrestler in the company at the moment, the one who defeated Asuka, and the only streak left that actually mattered. We have to buy that Carmella can be a legitimate threat to Charlotte, that Carmella could possibly come out on top.
Yeah, no.
And then she does.
Yeah, she defeats Charlotte Flair.
Clean.
Well, involving a knee.
It was clean. It was a clean pinfall. No cheating.
No cheating.
No
yes.
hanging on the ropes. Charlotte Flair tweaks her knee, and that's enough for Carmella to pin the woman who beat Asuka.
That really spits in the face of that, doesn't it?
This spits in the face of pretty much everything, yes. This is exactly what I was worried about after WrestleMania. You've thrown the streak under the bus for the benefit of this other athlete. And then you throw this athlete under the bus for the benefit of a significantly worse athlete that's booked like a cowardly heel. What is this nonsense? I was actually kind of expecting the match to last 5 seconds, honestly. I was thinking Charlotte was going to go China on Ivory.
Well,
on Carmella, that is.
Yeah, this match lasted 9 minutes, by the way.
Oh my god.
That's 2 minutes more longer than Big Cass's match. And
this is giving me a headache. What in the world are they thinking? I would have been okay if Carmella cheated to win, or perhaps hit Charlotte with the belt and run away with it, causing a disqualification. But instead she pins Charlotte without even using a finisher!
that makes it
This
real
is the
worse.
dumbest! What are they thinking? They are not. They don't care. They are so overcome by the absurd mass quantity of the money they have made from Saudi Arabia that it's literally clouding their vision.
They can't see the writing paper.
They have Arabian bills coming out of their eyelids.
I really didn't like how, after WrestleMania with Asuka losing the streak, that Charlotte Flair never made a big deal about it. Unlike Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, who made a big deal out of Undertaker losing his streak.
For all the good that did.
Charlotte Flair at least is there. And she just all said about the magic of the night, not about the streak and how it was, wonderful and all that. And it's like, it's not important anymore.
Because it isn't.
So that basically this entire farce basically spits in the face of such honors.
Wrestling is fake, it goes without saying.
Yes.
But so is your favorite TV show or your favorite film. If you have to suspend your disbelief, they have to convince you to suspend your disbelief, which means you have to buy into the farce. And if they are not going to give any importance to anything happening in the story, then what reason do you have to be invested in the first place?
Exactly.
I don't think it can get any worse than this booking, really. What's next on the chopping block?
AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Madhog. Madhog. Yeah, this match. This match, folks. Oh boy, this match. Oh. I think he's back, folks. Okay. 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 Yes. It's funny.
I'm not laughing.
I know. Okay, so the first complaint I had, which will get fixed in a moment.
Oh, yes. Oh, I wonder what that is.
The WWE Championship is not the main event of the show.
Mm-hmm.
A 21-minute match was not the main event for the entire thing.
A no disqualification championship match, no less.
Yes.
Because you have to have Roman Reigns in the main event. Of course!
No. Oh gosh, this is...
As soon as the graphic and the announcement for the title match came on, I just flipped out. I flipped out as I was watching this show.
Yeah, I mean...
Lost in a sea of uncontrollable rage, and then I proceeded to check out for the majority of this match. I knew that I would have to suffer for yet another main event with Roman Reigns in it afterwards.
Yes. But we'll get to that.
As it turns out, there was a perfectly good reason as to why this, despite being for the quote-unquote prestigious WWE title, and despite this being the grudge match between Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, was not the last match on the card. There is a very specific reason for that.
A very extremely specific reason that comes up.
A reason that makes me even angrier, if possible. A reason that just defies all common sense, logic, psychology. A reason that is so baffling and so bad.
So
it makes me want to quit watching this program once and for all. It's that bad. It makes me sick and tired of seeing AJ versus Nakamura. That's how bad the situation is.
Everyone was so happy for at least the WrestleMania match, and then this happens.
No, you see, there was the WrestleMania match,
yes,
and then there was the rematch in Saudi Arabia, which ended on a double countout, and then there is a third match a week later. We've had three matches between these two guys in 1 month.
It's ridiculous,
Just
isn't it?
Screw me asunder, will you?
Is there anything positive we can say about this match other than the ending?
Well, for a while it was a good match.
Yeah,
It was paced like a Randy Orton match for a while, which was to its detriment, but it was starting to picking up steam. It was starting to be good. I mean, AJ Styles was doing his moves and Nakamura was doing his moves. He's been a fantastic heel. I really love his entrance music, which is specifically designed to garner heat by precluding the fans to chant along it.
Yeah.
And even better than that, this was sung, the new Nakamura's theme song was sung by a band that does not actually speak Japanese. I mean, Japanese was not their first language, which means that they are singing with a terrible accent.
Oh, gosh.
So even if you knew the words, you would be able to realize that this is actually a pretty bad song. So it's great in that sense, a fantastic heel entrance. I have a problem with one very specific aspect of this feud between Nakamura and Styles.
Yeah.
A very particular spot, a very particular how do you say,
target
angle, a very target, yes, that's the word for it, a very particular target of this build. Nakamura just won't stop punching AJ Styles in the gonards over and over again. It's gotten to the point that it's past being comical and it's just become idiotic. I mean, AJ Styles, how many times can you possibly fall for that? It's ridiculous. Why don't you start wearing protection, for crying out loud? You know this guy is going to find a way to punch you in the gonards. Wear protection. That would be a great payoff, actually. You know, Shinsuke punches him, but AJ Styles, ha! I was wearing protection, and then he wins. It was funny for a while, and definitely it gave Nakamura something positively heelish to do, but they did it so many times, it's basically a Monty Python sketch.
It's cartoonish.
It's Roman Reigns kicking out of the F5s, but stretched for a month.
I think AJ needs to learn from Road Dogg Jesse James.
This is not making your WWE champion look good in the slightest.
No.
He looks like an idiot, in fact, for falling for that every single time. And speaking of which...
Yes. The climax.
Oh, no! The climax of this match.
Yes, the climax.
So, Shinsuke Nakamura punches AJ Styles in the gonards, because of course he does. It's no disqualifications, but then AJ Styles punches him back. And then they kick each other where the sun don't shine.
At the same time, no
At
less.
the same time. And I have to admit, that made me laugh.
That was so funny, I thought.
It was really funny. And then the fun and laughter was slowly superseded by the dreadful realization of what was actually happening. The referee was counting them both on the ground.
Yes.
And the match ended on a double countout because neither could
stand up
after being kicked and punched in the gonards.
So
a no disqualification match, a gimmick specifically designed to end feuds, ends instead on a double countout. Which, you know, it's also how the previous match that they had ended.
Yes.
On a countout. 2 matches in a row, 1 week apart, ending in a double countout in slightly different circumstances. The second of which was a no DQ match. A match that was given to them specifically because their previous encounter ended on a countout!
Oh gosh. This is going to be... I mean, the only thing I can think of the reason why they did this is because Samoa Joe is going to be coming into the mix.
You'd think so.
That's the only thing I can think of, that Samoa Joe is going to come between the two of these people, and then we're going to have a triple threat match with these three, which everyone was kind of pining for either one of these matches.
If Samoa Joe has to be inserted in the title scene, it should be in a one-on-one match.
Yeah.
With AJ Styles, specifically.
Yes.
So, this happens.
Yes. So
and
that
I
happened.
do not want to hear any argument in defense of this. I don't care! I don't care if you can get away technically with a double count-out finish in a no disqualification match. It's a no disqualification match, which means no rules. And count-out rules are rules.
So,
it's stupid. It's nonsense. It's bollocks. And that's also the main reason why this was not the last match on the card. Can you imagine ending on that note? Oh, not that the actual main event was a much better note to end on. Honestly, they could have just have this one being the last match on the card. People would have gone away from it much happier than what the real main event turned out to be.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that.
Okay, so let's use that scene of AJ and Nakamura kick each other in the balls as a good analogy for the show.
That's too easy. But yes.
Okay. But yes. Okay, I'm going to be honest, these next two matches...
I mean, this is TNA level of booking, and I don't say that lightly. The company right now is TNAing their talent.
Yeah.
Egregious misusing. Awful booking. Nothing right. Nothing.
Yeah. So speaking of nothing right, Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
I don't have much of a problem with this one, to be honest.
Aside,
again, from the finish.
To be honest, the only problem I had was the finish and the, basically, isn't this the same match we had 2 weeks ago?
Okay, no, if you're talking about Braun Strowman teaming with Bobby Lashley, yes. If you're talking about the second to last match at WrestleMania 34, also the analogy applies. Because it's basically the same position Braun was in last month. A nothing tag team match. That's the second to last bout of the show.
Yeah. So, this is a great misuse of Braun, to be honest.
This is a great misuse of Bobby Lashley. I mean, ever since re-debuting in the company the night after WrestleMania, he has not competed in a singles match. Ever. He's been immediately lumped in a tag team with Braun, and he proceeded to be immediately overshadowed by the absolute success of Braun as an entity. Because he is so over, he is impossible to overcome in terms of popularity. So the meteoric return of Bobby Lashley has already completely sizzled out because of that. And to make matters worse, a vertical suplex as a finisher? Are you joking?
They must be kidding, because that doesn't seem like a finisher.
He pinned Kevin Owens after a vertical suplex in that match.
Yeah, by the way, after Sami Zayn kind of threw him in there to the dogs.
They played the game of, I'm going to throw you under the bus to save my skin for a while. Which was funny. Not as funny as Braun just chasing after Sami and ramming Owens by accident. He seems to be doing that a lot, and it gets funnier every time. That's great. It's little details like this that keep Braun being absolutely over with the fans, no matter his position in the card.
Don't mind you wouldn't notice that, considering the crowd were quite a bit dead with Braun in this match.
No, they were actually still cheering him quite a lot, despite the fact that they were pretty much exhausted and disappointed by the previous situation. So it could have been a much worse reception, to be honest.
Yeah.
They still come alive for anything he does, regardless of how exhausted they are, because they are telling the creative, they are telling Vince McMahon, they are telling everybody, this is one of the guys we like!
This is the guy!
This is definitely the guy. I mean, if Brock Lesnar...
I thought you were about to say Brock Lozenge.
If Bork Lancer, or whatever his name is, if Brock can get away with showing up to work once or twice a year in matches that are basically 5 minutes long, doing 2 suplexes and an F5 and leaving, then why can't you have Braun Strowman having 5 minutes matches in which he rams people for the duration of it? That's what people love about him! That's what people want to see! They don't care about Roman Reigns, they don't care about the work rate of Roman Reigns specifically, they don't care about any of his matches, they don't care that he's the main event act, they don't care about this story of proving that he still got it after losing to Brock Lesnar, they don't care about him because he's a loser who's been neutered of everything he had going on for him, regardless of fans' reaction. He was completely decimated as a character, and yet they are still pretending that he means something. I am jumping the boat a little bit.
Yeah,
we are still talking about this other match, but that should tell you what my feelings are at the moment. Quite aplenty.
About the state of the company, yes.
The state of the company is egregious.
Horrid.
Horrid, indeed. So anyway, Braun and Bobby win, and that's about it, I guess.
Nothing was gained, nothing was lost.
Maybe we can gain a feud between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, I don't know. But I've seen that feud already, so...
I'd rather not see that feud again, personally.
Unless they can find a way to make it interesting or different. Oh, maybe this time Sami Zayn is the heel and Kevin is somehow the babyface. Even though I cannot buy Kevin as a babyface, not even if you brainwash me. Is just so obviously naturally a heel.
Yes.
They are both so over, you can get away with a heel versus heel match, or feud.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that. They could have a heel versus heel match.
They had already that match as well.
Oh,
and
okay.
guess what? Guess what?
What?
It ended on a double count out!
Ah.
I want to die!
Oh, no. Okay, let's just finish this off by going to the last match of the night.
Enzymes! Enzymes everywhere! Enzymes are booking the show!
Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe.
This match can burn in hell, and everyone who thought this was a good idea should follow suit.
This match lasted for 18 minutes. I mean, Samoa Joe, put him through a table.
Before the match even started, Samoa Joe beat the living bowels out of him and, yes, table spotted him, as it were. And then, as soon as the match started...
Rest hold for days.
Rest old city. Rest old city.
What a way to suck any potential of this match.
So, here's the weird conundrum that the fans in that arena were faced with. On one hand, they really like Samoa Joe, and they wanted to cheer for him. On the other hand, their absolute indomitable hatred for Roman Reigns and everything he stands for has now superseded the person of Roman himself, the body of flesh, to involve the very concept of him wrestling. So the end result of this situation is fans reacting to a Roman match the same way they reacted already in the main event of WrestleMania, with nothing but CM Punk and Rusev Day chants, booing it, chanting that it's boring and this is awful. The only thing that was missing were beach balls. And to make matters worse, yeah, they muted the live audience during Roman's entrance. They muted it so hard. It was the most hardcore muting of a live audience I've ever heard. And yet, at the same time,
Yes.
the announcers were actually acknowledging the hostile crowd.
Wow.
You cannot even have consistency in the censorship.
I bet you Vince was like going like, no, don't say that. What the hell are you doing?
I am beyond words at this point.
I
am beyond hating on Roman Reigns. I am beyond disliking the idea that he is supposed to be the guy according to somebody. I don't even have any ounce of sympathy for him left. I cannot even acknowledge that he's a capable wrestler anymore. Every time I see him now, I am just filled with an inordinate amount of apathy. It's just pure, endless void. Cosmic void. As soon as he makes any sort of appearance. Oh, and the announcers had the gall of saying, I believe it was Coachman who says that, that, hey, at least he's here every single day. Yes, that's the problem! We're sick and tired of him being here every single day! Damn it!
Yes, and Braun Strowman's there every single day. And Bobby Lashley's there every single day. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn.
Yes!
Rusev,
They're all there every single day. Do you know why? Do you want to know why? Because they work there!
What kind of logic is that?
You absolute dunderhead! You moron! I hate everyone and everything in the world. I just want to burn it down!
Oh, I have to say that after WrestleMania, like, they're putting all this effort behind making Roman a main eventer, but yet the execution of it is equal to saying, we don't know what to do with him, just do this, I guess.
It seems like they did all they could to bury him instead, but at the same time they still want to put him over somehow, that they would still go to the length of muting the live audience. I don't understand what's going on anymore with this character, with this person. I don't understand what the hell is happening in this company. What is the booking? What is the story? What are we supposed to feel about Roman? Are we supposed to feel sympathetic that he is losing all the time and then he suddenly wins? Because yes, spoilers, he wins, with this match at least. Or are we supposed to hate him because, again, he's a loser and he said he was going to beat Brock, and he failed. He failed twice.
It's very weird, the logic of basically, as soon as the WWE basically decides they're giving up on someone, they drop him entirely. Like, the first one I can think of from the top of my head, Bray Wyatt. They gave up on him so hard, and yet they still put all the effort to Reigns despite it failing. They're not doing it right.
I mean, like I said, the fans are not just booing him anymore, they are booing the matches he's in. They are burying him, and by burying him and the matches he's in, they are also burying the other guys wrestling against. That's why you cannot even use Roman to put someone else over anymore. That's how much his mere presence is damaging the main event scene. Anyway, so this match was wrestled for days, for minutes, hours. It never ends. And then even when it starts going, it's not anywhere near as exciting as their match
For the IC title, right?
Yes, for the IC title that they had on Raw. Why couldn't it be that match? They had that fantastic bout a few months ago before Joe was briefly injured. And now they're having this match because Roman Reigns has to be the heroic babyface who overcomes the odds, even though the guy is bigger than so much. He doesn't look like an underdog. He looks like a conqueror. He looks like a barbarian. He should have fought Brock Lesnar on an even field instead of eating F5 after F5 after F5 and looking like a complete chump and loser. And he manages to lose the cage match even though he won it because of that botch.
Yeah. I'm going to say that I really, really wish this match could be more visceral in a way, but
I really, really wish this was not the main event.
To be honest, I'll take the dick kicking for the ending, to be honest, at this rate. Because this match was so full of apathy and so full of people who didn't care. So much so that people started leaving.
Yes, as soon as the match ended with Roman overcoming the odds and beating Joe with a spear, the camera cut away to the crowd's reaction, and you can clearly see people starting to leaving instantly.
People were starting to leave during the match as well, apparently.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's that bad because some people on Twitter took a picture of the moment while the match was going on, and there was like lots of people leaving. The state this company is in.
Wow.
This is
not even John Cena at his most hated would garner this kind of reaction. No, John Cena, as polarizing as he was a massive draw regardless of hatred. Roman Reigns, he's literally pushing people away from the arena. This is the moment, this is the time that we are at with Roman Reigns. It's not just a failure. It's not just a project that needs some fine-tuning. It's just beyond repair.
It is.
Forget about ratings on Raw. Forget about people booing or bitch balls. Keeping Roman Reigns in the main event scene is going to literally push people away from purchasing tickets for your events. You have this guy, main event 4 consecutive WrestleManias in an attempt to convince everyone, and yourselves included, that he was the guy. And then, when you were just at the finish line, you choked out so bad because Saudi Arabia was giving you money. So you throw all of that under the bus, and then you have the gall to say, it's okay, we can fix it, we'll throw money at it.
Yeah, no.
I cannot even find the words anymore. I am burnt out. I've been burned down, as it were. Ugh. Burn it down. Burn down this entire arena. Burn down this show. Wow, what a way to start your monthly co-branded pay-per-view venture, WWE. I dared to think that Judgment Day in 2007 was a bad way to start your co-branded pay-per-view venture during the original brand separation.
But
The
no.
main event to that show, by the way, was John Cena defending the title against the Great Khali. And that was a much better received match than this one.
Yeah.
I want you to really think about that.
Yes, I've already thought about it now that you said that.
Maybe I'll stop watching Raw. I'm still invested in SmackDown for the most part. I think 205 Live is really good and NXT is great as always.
Yeah,
Those are worth watching.
those are definitely worth watching.
But other than that, I think what we can take away from this experience is that people should unsubscribe to the network and instead subscribe to NJPW World. In fact, I suggest we should review Dominion next month. The main event of that show is going to be Kazuchika Okada defending the title against, get this, Kenny Omega in a no time limit 2 out of 3 falls match.
Ooh.
And you know that's a big deal because this company never does gimmick matches. So, yes, we should watch that instead of Money in the Bank, and we should do a podcast about it.
Rebellion against...
No, as a simple human need for...
good wrestling.
I was going to say happiness, but
That too.
that will do. That'll do, Devar. That'll do.
Okay, so that was all the matches for this pay-per-view at least.
Yes, it's over. It's done and dusted. It was terrible, unforgivably bad. Perhaps the worst show they've put out in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so we should probably do the best worst things.
It is now time for best match, best guy, worst guy. Go.
Okay, so best match should go to Seth Rollins versus The Miz for obvious reasons.
The only good match. Really.
Literally, it's... This pay-per-view started with the best match in the world, and then suddenly Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. I'm done with the world.
This actually reminds me of WCW shows circa 1998. In that they started off with the best possible matches, usually involving the cruiserweights, putting out heart-stopping performances, and then as we move further and further towards the main event, the show sizzles out, and it's just terrible. This is what this company is looking like at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
You should really just watch this one match and then forget the rest of the show. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth it. I think you're agreeing with me that that's the best match.
It's not as much as I agree with you, it's that I don't really have much of a choice. Do I?
Okay, so this will be an interesting one.
Worst match? My gosh! What to pick? What to choose? I have the embarrassment of the choice, as it were.
Yes, even I don't know which I pick, because it's either going to be Carmella versus Charlotte Flair, the Braun Strowman tag team match, or Roman Reigns.
Any match with Braun, even if it's not good, it's still going to be fun, at the very least. So it should be automatically disqualified from even being considered. Braun is pure. He must be protected, okay?
Yes, I understand, but I also want the best for Braun and Lashley.
Yes, I too want the best for both of them. Teaming them together was not the best, if you ask me. Maybe feuding with each other, but we'll see. I really want to see Braun Strowman becoming a Universal Champion. Why can't I have that? Wah!
Yeah.
Or really anyone but Roman.
Finn Balor. Really, it's between two matches, Carmella or Roman Reigns.
Don't forget the WWE title match ending in a double penis countout. Penis countout.
To be honest, as egregious as that was,
And it's very egregious.
the two matches I mentioned, you know, just have those extra layers of things for me to be annoyed and disappointed with.
You know, there isn't a single match on this night that made me more angry than the Nakamura and Styles matchup.
So that's your worst match of the night.
Let me finish.
Right.
But one would argue that, at the very least, they gave me an emotion, something to latch onto.
Yeah.
Even though it's pure white-hot rage and frustration. The Roman Joe match was very much akin to re-experiencing the WrestleMania main event. I was just waiting for it to end, much like everyone in that arena. The rage and frustration would come afterwards, as in after a long period of depression.
Yeah.
So, wrestling, the last thing that wrestling should do is making you question life, making you question your mental well-being, and making you depressed. It's supposed to be entertainment.
And it should not make you feel disappointed.
So that is unequivocally my worst match of the night.
Well, considering that argument, I'll go with that then.
Okay, that's
Okay.
unanimous then.
Okay.
And
so
now...
best guy and worst guy.
So whom are you going to go with?
That's a difficult choice, really.
You can literally flip a coin and say one or the other.
The Miz then.
Okay, if you say The Miz, then I'm going to say Seth Rollins. That way, they are both the best guy.
Yay!
Because they were. They tore the house down. They had a brilliant freaking match. One is Seth freaking Rollins, the burn it down man, who remembers to sell his leg for once. And the other is The Miz, one of the most charismatic and reliable workers in the company at the minute. He is on a level right now that he would have only dreamed of 10 years ago. And he's going toe-to-toe with the likes of Ring of Honor veteran Seth Rollins, also known as Tyler Black, which was his original indie name. But regardless, they were both great, they delivered, because they let them deliver!
So basically, overall, they're the best and also the best guys.
Best match and best guys all in one neat place. And now, worst guy. Oh, that's also a pickle, let me tell you.
Yeah, because, I mean, do we pick who's the worst based on the overall match it leaves you the feeling with, or basically for lack of wrestling?
I honestly don't know. Once again, just pick whatever you want to pick, whomever infuriates you the most or makes you the most apathetic.
This is a difficult one for me, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to say Samoa Joe because it's probably not his fault for doing the rest.
Oh, no, it's definitely not his fault.
Because under the circumstances, technically Carmella is probably the worst for not even finishing off Charlotte Flair with a finisher.
But then you also have the referee who counted both AJ and Shinsuke out.
Okay.
That could be a potential candidate.
Yes, the referee is the worst.
Also, Nia Jax was pretty bad as well. Big Cass sucked big, as it were.
Big suck.
Big Suck! That's his name! Big Suck, oh dear lord.
Oh gosh.
Oh, the vertical suplex as a finisher could be the worst guy, if you want to be cheeky about it. Anything could be the worst guy.
Yeah, this night was full of them, in one way or another.
So?
Carmella still personally, just because it's an easy choice.
It is a very easy choice, but nonetheless, it doesn't make it any less right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had time to prepare for this answer.
Yeah.
And it might seem like I'm cheating here because, you know, I once nominated the Enzymes as the worst guy.
Yeah.
But if you look at this show, if you take your time and you look at it from a distance, you realize that the main problem, the problem that this show had going for it, was the booking, the overall booking. Everything went wrong because of how every single match, aside from the one that was good, was essentially predetermined to end, or how it panned out. Everything happened because of how everything was decided to be. And so, in light of that, my worst guy is WWE Creative. All of them! Fire them all! Burn it down! Fire yourself, Vince! Everybody go home! I'm sick and tired of this. The WWE Creative is the worst enemy of WWE, and this show proves it without any shadow of a freaking doubt. They are the worst guy.
Okay. I wish I went for that too now.
Yes, well, I'm glad you didn't, because otherwise you would have ruined my bit. And that's why I had you go on first. Anyway. And so that was the backlash to the backlash to the backlash of Backlash.
Yes, it was an entire Backlash evening.
People kicked and punched each other in the gonards more times than in Idiocracy, which is saying something.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, who booked all this? Hans Moleman?
Like I said, the show has basically gone out of its way to disappoint me and many people in the process.
Out of its way.
Yeah, that's what I said, out of its way.
Yes, out of its way. I am reiterating that.
Ah, right, I get you. Okay, so it's like they really, really wanted me to stop watch wrestling.
Or at least this particular product, because there is so much out there that is far superior that you could be watching. You could be watching Ring of Honor. You could be watching NJPW. You could be watching PWG, Dragon's Gate, even Defiant Wrestling. Why not?
Yeah.
ICW, Progress. There are so many choices out there. Lucha Underground is going to restart anytime soon. Don't watch WWE. Just don't. It's too mainstream. It's too much like Disney for its own good.
Yeah. And to think the only thing that I was ever invested in, was two things: Braun Strowman and Matt Hardy.
Oh, I hate the Deleters of Worlds. I really don't like them. They have not clicked with me in the slightest, I'm sorry to say.
I know, and I don't care, because it's literally the only thing giving me any form of positive emotion, to be honest. So I'm going to take what I can leave with, essentially. Please don't.
You should watch NXT. NXT is really good.
Yes.
And on that note, thank you for sticking with us, everybody. If you actually, had the mental fortitude to stick with us during these trying times.
Yeah.
This is probably the most emotional podcast that we've ever recorded.
It is. Oh, gosh.
Over wrestling of all things.
You deserve a medal for listening to this. Really, I have nothing else to say about this show or anything at all, so...
Madhog here.
Yes. Devar here.
See you next time for potentially more wrestling reviews. I am not opposed to the idea of coming back here once a month to review a wrestling show.
It's all been a bit much tonight.
Indeed. So, yes, I don't have a clever send-off, so I'm just going to say bye-bye and terminate this podcast and put it out of its misery.
Yeah. By kicking it in the balls.